Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday offering from Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Welcome to the show. I'm Ray Flowers. You can find me on Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, all those places at the Ray Flowers. You can find me here Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Justin Fensterman hosts on Wednesdays. The reason being on Wednesdays, I'm over on the Elite Sports Show with Jeff Mans. Jeff shows on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio Monday through Friday at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So I'm here Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern. Justin again here on Wednesdays at 12 Eastern. On Wednesdays, I'm not here because I'm with Jeff on that show from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sirius. Evenings, Monday through Friday, the Elite Sports Game Time Show, 8 to 10 Eastern. Justin Fensterman and I are there. So you can watch us here at 12. You can listen to us with Jeff Mans at 3 o'clock Eastern on SiriusXM, and then 8 o'clock Eastern, Justin and I on the Elite Sports Game Time Show on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. So 3 ways to catch up with us on a daily basis at FantasyGuru.com. In addition to all the articles, in addition to all the chat rooms and podcasts and live streams and everything we do at FantasyGuru.com. 3 shows every day at a minimum with FG. You can go to FG, FantasyGuru.com, click the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page. You can find this show, Justin's podcast, Armando's podcast, the Race Guru Thunder Hour, Jeff Mans' podcast. So you can find the entire Elite Sports Network over there. Click the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page. You can also type in Fantasy Sports Daily to your podcast network. We should pop up, whether you're doing Spotify, Pandora, YouTube Music, Apple Podcasts. You should be able to find us in all those spots. And then you can also watch us live or watch us on demand. You can ask questions live, though, if you follow us on Facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ, Twitter X @FantasyGuruSite, and then on YouTube at youtube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork. So many ways to get involved with the show and us here on the channel. What are we talking about today? Well, we'll give a quick update on some rankings. We'll give a quick overview of Major League Baseball for the month of April. Then we'll dive into a bunch of players, some injured players like Mike Trout, some surging players like Kyle Stowers, some guys that haven't found their game at all like Ryan McMahon. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about more injuries. What's going on with Jazz Chisholm, Brandon Woodruff. We got a Tyler Glasnow update. We'll share that. Jerry Jones, Lance McCullers. We'll talk about bullpens. All bullpens in disarray. Last year it was pretty smooth sailing for the most part in the bullpens. This year not even close. Bullpens are already disastrous on the first day of May here. And then in about 25 minutes, we'll visit with Tyler Buecher of FantasyGuru.com on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, about a half an hour into the show. Armando Marsal is on Tuesdays. He sits here with me and talks football. On Wednesdays, he talks basketball with Justin. On Thursdays, Tyler Buecher comes in. And then on Fridays, Russell Clay. Today, we're talking about the quarterback position with Tyler Buecher. We'll go through all of the moves that happened on draft day, the moves that didn't happen on draft day. So we'll talk mostly about the rookie quarterbacks, but we'll also talk about a situation like Pittsburgh or Seattle. What's going on with these two spots, especially Pittsburgh? They don't have a quarterback. Is it Mason Rudolph time? We'll talk a little bit about that in about 25 minutes with the one and only Tyler Buecher, who again is here with us every Thursday. Okay, Jeff Masyn wrote an article over at ESPN. Just wanted to pull a couple things out of that before we start talking players. I am usually in on the ground floor of things and the nitty gritty, and I don't always pull back and take a broad picture. Jeff Masyn did that in his recent article. So here's some of the broad picture strokes for the month of April. Last year, there were more bases stolen than at any point in a century. Why? Bases are bigger, pitch clock, times you can throw to first base. So Major League Baseball accomplished their goal of getting players to run more on the base paths. Absolutely happened last year. Guess what? This April, there were more steals than last April. Remember, last year was the most steals we've had in a century, 100 years. There were about, I don't have the final number here because this was with like a day or two left. Let's call it 45 more steals this month. Right? So last year there were 3,600 steals. If it's 45 extra a month, right, times 6, we're at 275. We're 3,850, which is so the base stealing thing is really working for Major League Baseball, right? There's getting more movement on the bases, more action between pitches and all that kind of stuff. That's accomplishing what they wanted. The games are still under 2 hours and 40 minutes on average. So that's exactly where Major League Baseball wants it. Walks are up 0.3 of a percentage point, and strikeouts are down by about 0.3 of a percentage point. So actually, April this year has the highest rate of balls put in play of any April since 2017. So that's also good news, right? So we're getting more action, and that's what Major League Baseball really wanted. They didn't want 9-pitch walks, 3-pitch strikeout, 3-pitch strikeout, 3-pitch strikeout. They had half innings over. They wanted to get more into this. So a little bit more contact, a little bit less strikeout rate, a few more balls in play. Again, the highest rate since 2017. Now, despite more steals and despite better walk rates and better strikeout rates, interestingly enough, there's hardly any change in the run production from last season. Last year was 4.38. This year it's 4.34 per team per game. So, and this kind of goes, I think, to what we've dealt with in the fantasy space. Yes, some of our guys are doing very well. Yes, some of the categories are doing very well. But really, is offense really up this year? From a run score perspective, it's simply not. It's almost identical to last year. So those are some things to think about. It is the 1st of May. So later today, the rankings will be updated at fantasyguru.com. For those of the people that don't know, the first day of every month throughout the season, I update the rankings. The rankings will be updated today. Tomorrow, there'll be Solds rankings over at the site because I'm a big proponent of Solds leagues. I'm in Solds leagues. I talk to you all about Solds leagues. We'll talk about the disastrous bullpen scenarios across the land here in a few minutes. So for those of you in Sold leagues, those rankings will come out tomorrow. The rankings that come out today, obviously, are for Saves leagues. So those will be up later today in a couple hours after the show. So that's kind of a review of where we're at long term. Christy asked a question. Let's talk to Chris. Remember, you can ask a question live, youtube.com/Network. What are your thoughts on J.P. Crawford's hot streak and the rest of the season outlook? Worth the pickup to fill in for injuries. J.P. Crawford is good at getting on base, and that's about it. I would rather take a chance on talking someone up the middle. I'd rather take a chance on Jorge Polanco. So that would definitely be the guy we'd be looking at. J.P. Crawford's hitting .390 the last 2 weeks with an RBI a game. Both Crawford and Polanco really getting it done. And all of a sudden, the Mariners, who started really slowly offensively, starting to pick things up. Cal Raleigh's been fine. Obviously, they lost Victor Robles. Randy Rosarina's been fine. They really need to get Julio Rodriguez going. Julio's way too good to be this bad again. He did the same thing last year, so they really need to get him going. Crawford is very boring. He's not going to steal bases. A best-case scenario is probably 10, 12 home runs, 4 or 5 steals. If he's hitting at the top of the order because of his ability to get on base, he's more intriguing from a run scored perspective. But I think it's just a hot streak, Chris, to answer your question. Plug and play for now if you want, but there's just not much to see with the offensive game of J.P. Crawford. All right. Let's dive into Mike Trout's situation. Mike Trout was moved from the game yesterday. Now, we all know where Mike Trout is. He doesn't play. He's had 2 seasons and 5 years of 80 games. He doesn't play. He was trying to beat out a ball that he hit second base yesterday, landed kind of awkwardly on the first base bag. So people talking about, should the bags be flat? Because again, when you hit the base, for those people that never play baseball, the thing's a couple inches tall like that. When you hit it, there's no real good way to hit it. Unless you're making a turn, you can hit the corners, you're making a turn and push off the bag like you're going for a double. If you're just running full speed through first base, do you hit the front of the bag, top of the bag, back of the bag? So apparently Trout tweaked his knee. Now, they're not saying an injured list. In fact, they said an injured list stay is not in the cards right now. Is that accurate or not? I don't know. Is he going to start missing games? Probably. Is it kind of fitting that, he had to be removed from a game because he was trying to beat out a single? Yeah. Mike Trout has been fantastic for the majority of his career. But the fact of the matter is, for a player, and I said this yesterday on the Elite Sports Show, for a player that's probably going to the Hall of Fame, this has gotten really bad. And I made the comparison to Scott Rowland on the show yesterday. It's look, you look at Scott Rowland's overall numbers and his standing at the third baseman amongst all-around third base play, his offense and his defense. It's the numbers are really good, but look at all the seasons where he didn't play 120 games. Mike Trout's in that same boat. Mike Trout was amazing for 9 years, and now he can't play 100 games. Even this year, he's powering the baseball. He's hitting below the Mendoza line. Now, luckily we cashed his total base prop yesterday that I said was free money because he did get a base hit in his first at bat, so that was great. So anyone that put that bet down yesterday won with Mike Trout. But so anyway, you know what you got with Trout. You take the good, take the bad. Facts of life, something like that. They say he's fine. We'll see. Even if he's fine now, that's not something that's going to continue. Kyle Stowers went 4-4 with a couple of home runs yesterday. And, all of a sudden, Kyle Stowers, who is on my Dynasty League team, but not somebody that we talk about very frequently here on this show or over at fantasyguru.com. In fact, I don't remember the last time I got a question about Kyle Stowers. He's not in the 320s with a 900 OPS. Really good. Is he a 300 hitter? No. Is he a 900 OPS guy? I don't believe so. But talking about hot guys, the last 2 weeks he's hitting 385, and the last week he's 8 for his last 17. So he's on absolute fire right now. If he's on the waivers, and he likely is, you could pick up Kyle Stowers. Know that Stowers should play most days for the Marlins. They're not a good team. They're just going to let him play. He's got 4 home runs and 19 RBIs, which obviously puts him on a pace for about 25-120. Let's call him a 25-75-80 guy. Let's call him a 260 hitter. So he blends into the outfield really quickly when you look at what's likely to happen long term. So that's the risk you run picking up a J.P. Crawford or picking up a Kyle Stowers. It's not that they're not going to be effective players, but you've missed the best month they're likely to have. And given the overall skill set, like Kyle Stowers is not going to hit 320. It's not happening. Maybe he hits 260 the rest of the way, right? Maybe. And that means he hits 287 this year. Well, maybe. But he's really still just a 260 hitter. And I do think these things tend to even out. So cautious optimism with Stowers, but I would be very cautious with aggressively bidding for him on the waiver wire or dropping significant players to pick him up, because there are legitimate concerns about this hot start with him. Ryan McMahon, Ryan McMahon and I want to say we have a love-hate relationship, but we never have. You all have had a love relationship with Ryan McMahon. I've always had a hate relationship with Ryan McMahon. Ryan McMahon is just a guy. He's always been just a guy. Coors Field saves him, or he wouldn't even be just a guy. This year, though, nothing can save him. He leads baseball in strikeouts. He's batting 150. This is kind of the opposite scenario. Like, in a deeper league, do you hold Ryan McMahon? I really think you do. You just bench him. In a 10 or 12 team league, because again, if he's going to hit 250 with 24 home runs and 79 RBIs this season, he's going to be way better. He's going to be a usable piece the rest of the way the last 5 months. What if this first month of the season stops him from reaching those numbers? He's that pace guy the rest of the way, right? So, maybe he hits 240 with 17 home runs and 61 RBIs the rest of the way. Okay. But whoopee-doo, right? So Ryan McMahon, when you lead baseball in strikeouts, we talk about this all the time. We talked about it with his teammate Jordan Beck recently. You can't be striking out at a rate that leads baseball in strikeouts. You can't. Doesn't work. And it certainly doesn't work unless you're hitting 30 home runs, unless you're stealing 30 bases. Ryan McMahon right now has got a 36% strikeout rate, and he's basically played every day. I think he's played every game but like one. So he's never been this bad. We can look at all the measurements. And in fact, if you look at the measurements, it's really interesting because he's hitting the ball pretty well. His hard hit rate's right on par. His exit velocity is actually higher than it's ever been. He is lifting the ball a little bit too much. So the swing obviously is a little bit out of whack. His walk rate is strong. It's actually 14%. So there's still pieces here. So again, I would try to hold Ryan McMahon in the deeper league, but in shallower leagues, you got to make decisions. And he's probably a guy that you have to let go at this point in time. Masyn Winn, one of my favorites in the preseason, who we've talked about a lot, started slowly in spring, was awful in spring, actually. Ended up being 9th to start the year. Didn't do much at all for the first couple of weeks. Finally started to get hot. Then he ended up on the injured list. Then he was recalled. He had 4 hits yesterday, including a couple of home runs in the doubleheader against the Rockies. He was hitting second in the second game. And you look up now, and he's hitting 260 with a 350 on base percentage. It's like, that's who he was expected to be. So after that horrible start, everything's kind of evened out. Now he's got to stay healthy and just play every day. Obviously, Lars Nootbaar has taken over as a leadoff guy. Victor Scott's now down in the bottom third of the order too. So it's really Scott or Winn for that second spot in the order. And if Masyn Winn can hold on to that second spot, which again, they wanted him to hit leadoff. So it wouldn't be shocking that they put him back in here now that he's hitting like 370. What's he hitting the last 2 weeks? Masyn Winn, let's pull it up since he came back. It wouldn't be shocking to see the Cardinals stick him back in that 2-hole and just let him rip. In the 8 games since he's returned to action, 321 with 1,000 OPS. A couple home runs, couple steals in 8 games. So going back even further, his last 17 games hitting 320 with a 920 OPS. So I think Masyn Winn is back at it. We need him to stay healthy. It would be great if he started to run. And obviously, it would be fantastic if he's hitting 1 or 2 versus 8 or 9. Looks like that might be happening now with the Cardinals. Matt McLain, speaking of a guy that not getting it done, a guy who's in the Ryan McMahon zone, Matt McLain just, I mean, woof. And, you know, you want to place a bet on Matt McLain. You want to put him in the DFS lineup because you see these matchups and it's like, wow, right? And I look up now and he's hitting 159 with a 33% strikeout rate. Like, I mean, dual position eligible most leagues. Obviously didn't play last year because of injury, but back in 2023, let's not forget 16 home runs, 14 steals in 89 games. Like, he was a 25 guy as a rookie. Missed last season with the shoulder issue, coming back this year. I mean, this is 33% strikeout rate. We can talk about how he's hitting the baseball, which looks fine. We can talk about all these measurements, but really at the end of the day, you got to make contact with the baseball. He's not making contact with the baseball. It's sunk his batting average is 159. His on-base percentage is now 266 because, you know, and again, think about that. His on-base percentage is 100 points higher than his batting average. That is phenomenal. If he hits 260 and he's at 360, that's great. So a 100-point spread between your batting average and on-base percentage is really good. Doesn't matter because he's hitting 159. It'll obviously get better. But stay tuned for his contact rate. That has got to be, that's the key. Once he starts making better contact, then you are likely to see a hot streak coming from Matt McLain. Chad Chisholm, we talked about this on the show yesterday, right? Like the flank issue, which is basically between your lat and your waist. We talked about how, I don't remember the last time I heard a baseball player with a flank issue. It's oblique or your side. They'll say side in their flank. Anyway, they're saying now it's probably an oblique. He wasn't in the lineup yesterday. At this point in time, he's going through testing, and we'll see. And again, the rankings come out today at fantasyguru.com, and this is always how this goes. I'll probably put the rankings out, and then a half hour after I put the rankings out, they'll announce what's going on with Jazz Chisholm. But the fact is, with Jazz Chisholm, at this point in time, and I said it yesterday, at this point in time, I'm now expecting an IL stint. The question for me is not, is that going to happen? Because again, I think that's likely to happen. The question is it 10 days or is it 4 weeks? We'll see. I'm hoping it's a shorter term thing, but we'll have to continue to watch with Jazz Chisholm. The bottom line is if you have Chisholm, you have to make other plans to fill his roster spot. I think it's highly likely he ends up on the injured list with this injury. Chris Sale, let's talk some pitchers. Chris Sale pitched 7 innings, a 2-run ball at Coors Field yesterday. Pretty damn good. And for a guy that was drafted to be an ace, a guy that was drafted as an SP1 in most leagues, let's not overlook the fact he was phenomenal last season. He's been bad this year. Even with the strong effort yesterday, his ERA is 4.8 and his whip is 1.4. That is really bad, right? That's worse than league average. Now, it still comes with a 29% strikeout rate, which is terrific. The league average is about 22-3%. So great there. Not walking anyone, 6% walk rate, almost identical to last year. So that's terrific. Obviously, he's been unfortunate. The 383 batting average of balls in play is comical for Chris Sale given his stuff, right? Because pitchers do have a little bit of an influence over that number. The real issue for Sale, and we've seen this mentioned frequently, is that there have been times where he's gone out there and he simply hasn't trusted his slider. And so, you know, if you can't trust your best pitch, you got a problem. And if you look at things, you know, his ability to get guys to chase out of the strike zone is the same as it's always been. His first pitch strike rate is still pretty good. It's 66%. It's actually 5-6% above average. His CSW is still 30%. Like, all these things are really good. But he's just not been able on a consistent basis to find each pitch. And so when your pitch mix, even if he's throwing strike one, even if he's still getting strikeouts, if he's not able to trust his repertoire, obviously, then, you know, if he's limited there somewhat, it's an issue. So that's really been the problem to date. Chris Sale, as we saw yesterday, should figure this out. The question with Sale for me, and I think it should be for you as well, isn't will he be better than he has been? Because it's like 95% certain he's going to be better than he's been. The question is, what does that look like workload-wise? Remember last season, he threw those 170 innings. That was his first season of 150 since 2018. Some of you may not have been playing fantasy the last time that happened in 2018. So that's the question with Chris Sale. Looks like he's starting to pull out of it with a very strong effort yesterday against a admittedly terrible team, but still a strong effort for Chris Sale. Tony Gonsolin had 9 strikeouts yesterday. 9. He gave 3 runs over 6 innings against the Marlins. Marlins are not a great team. The 9 strikeouts are not who Tony Gonsolin is. So while that's great to see, even if he pitches effectively, you're not getting that. He did throw a quality start. Surprising that he was able to do that. But you also look at him and reach 80 pitches. Like, he was in control of this game yesterday. So it was a very, very solid first outing. He takes on the Marlins next time out if they stay on this rotation, which is interesting. There's always the debate. Who has the advantage if you face the guy the next week, the hitters or the pitcher? I think if he's out there against the Marlins next week, you can feel pretty good about starting him yet again. He should be rostered in the majority of mixed leagues right now, Tony Gonsolin. The question with him, though, is what does this look like long term? We'll talk about Tyler Glasnow in a second, but Glasnow's on the injured list. Snell is on the injured list. Kershaw's on the injured list. Bobby Miller's down on the farm. Like, how many starts does Gonsolin make now that he's healthy? Does he become that swingman that he has been previously at the big league level? So it's tough to add Gonsolin and feel uber confident that, hey, man, it's just going to happen with him and he's going to make 22 starts the rest of the way, because they have all these guys coming back from injury. But right now, he's a pickup. Looks like he's into the rotation for now with the Dodgers. Brady Singer took a loss yesterday, though. He gave up 1 run against the Cardinals, and he moved to 4-0 with a 3.6 ERA. And Singer's a very difficult one to rank, if we're being honest. He's very difficult to rank because there have been moments where he's been really good in his career. There's been moments where he's been very blasé. Last year's ERA was 5, or 2 years ago it was 5.7. Last year it was 3.7. He throws 160 innings-ish every year. He looks like he's built to being one of the guys that we can trust to make 30 starts. And there's not many guys in the league that we can look at and say, that guy can make 30 starts this year. The real question with Singer is, how is he going to pitch in this ballpark in Cincinnati when the weather turns warm, right? Cincinnati's a very difficult place to pitch. And it's not that Singer is home run prone, because he's not. But he also isn't a big strikeout guy. He does have the best strikeout rate of his career right now. It's 27%. There's got to be some level of concern that he's going to be able to hold on to that. But that if he could hold on to that number and maintain ground balls, we'd have a lot of interest. Now, the interesting thing is the strikeout rate is way up. Ground ball rate is vanished. His worst ground ball to fly ball ratio coming into this season was 1.59. That's in 5 years, right? Routinely, ground ball rate of about 50%. This year, the ground ball rate is 35%, and his ground ball to fly ball ratio is 0.8. That is not a change that I want to see in a pitcher in Cincinnati. It's not the right direction that we want to go here. The reason being, let me pull up his pitch mix here. Of course, it would help if I learned how to read a pitch chart. There we go. Well, there's not a hell of a lot of difference. Really interesting. Not a hell of a lot of difference in that mix there. I'll do some more digging on him. I definitely have to do some more digging on him before we release the rankings day at FG. But my feeling, again, is that I don't want to see a pitcher in Cincinnati trading ground balls for strikeouts. I don't want to see that. It helps them if you want to use them as a streamer, if you want to use them on the road, okay. But pitching in Cincinnati when it's 96 degrees here in a couple of months, a little bit nervous about Springer. Or Singer, excuse me, not Springer, Singer. Jerry Springer, Jerry. We talked about Jaxson Jobe the other day, about him coming back, about it was his first start in 12 days because they skipped a turn in the rotation. And so how did it go yesterday? Well, he went 4 innings. And again, this is kind of what's likely to happen with a young pitcher like him that's on an innings pitch count. He's got 18 strikeouts and 14 walks. Terrible ratio. 18 strikeouts in 24 innings. Terrible ratio. Faces the Rockies in Colorado next time out. Ugh. Jaxson Jobe not living up to expectations early going, and his ranking is not going to be very good. And those rankings are released later today. Not missing bats, walking too many guys, and concerns about workload. Talking about some guys coming back from injury, Brandon Woodruff is going to make one more start, it looks like, in the minor leagues, coming back from that shoulder issue. 5 2/3 scoreless frames last time out, looked very good. Time before that, he was a little sore after his outing, so they're just slow playing it here, trying to get him out there. And once they return to the big leagues, have him stay in that rotation the rest of the season. So it looks like with Woodruff, we're probably looking at one more start in the minors. We'll see. But he's checked all the boxes, looked pretty good. And the results have been very, very positive with Brandon Woodruff. So for those of you looking to get ahead of the game, picking up Brandon Woodruff this Sunday on your fab run makes a lot of sense. Tyler Glasnow, who we hinted at earlier, is going to not throw for 10 to 14 days because of that shoulder issue. We talked about him on the show, I think it was yesterday. He's on the injury list for a shoulder, but it's not really that bad. He's also got overall body soreness. I'm not really sure what's going on. Well, he's not going to throw for 2 weeks, and then he's going to be reevaluated. So if he doesn't throw for 2 weeks, and that's the plan today, he's not going to be in the big leagues until June. It's just not. If he shuts down for 2 weeks, they're going to need to have him ramp things back up for a couple of weeks. So maybe he makes a start the last week of May in a best case scenario, absolute best case scenario. Last week of May, he's back in the big leagues. Most likely it's June. And if there's any kind of setback at all, if the 10 to 14 days isn't enough, we have to be talking about July. So Glasnow, best case scenario, just say it June 1st for now. Best case scenario. Just don't know. Very nebulous situation right now with Tyler Glasnow. Jared Jones, another power righty. He's got the elbow issue. They're being very cautious with him. He's been cleared to start a throwing program. He's coming back from the UCL sprain. Let's hope that he doesn't blow this thing out, right? Because then that would cost him all of next year. It seems like June, kind of that same time frame for Glasnow, is reasonable at this point in time with Jared Jones. Again, reasonable does not mean it's going to happen. He's a prize piece of this team's current rotation and obviously their future. So Jones, and again, how do you rank Glasnow or Jones? Like, how do I do it? I'll do the best I can, but how do you do that? Like, I don't know what this is going to look like for either guy. But Jones, clear to start the throwing program, start progressing. Let's hope we get good updates here over the next couple of weeks. Let's hope we see him at some point in June. We'll see if that's even a reasonable situation to take or position to take with the hurler of the Pirates. Lance McCullers is going to start Sunday against the White Sox. McCullers has been injured 150 times. You never know. And if McCullers goes out and dominates the White Sox, I wouldn't be surprised. Even if he does, it really doesn't change my opinion. You got to be very cautious. Whatever league you're adding Lance McCullers in, if you're adding him to be anything other than a streaming option, I think you're making a mistake. There's just been too many injuries, too many setbacks, too many years without him being a viable guy for a major league team, just taking the ball. He'd go out and throw 5 shutout innings against the White Sox. I'm not bidding on him Sunday night. That's me. I'll be very cautious with Lance McCullers. Let's talk some bullpen guys before we talk football with Tyler Buecher. Alexis Diaz has been sent to AAA, so if you were holding out hope that Alexis Diaz would get back in the 9th inning, Reds, it's Emilio Pagan. We talked about Pagan earlier this week. He's in the danger zone. Too many fly balls, too much fortune in the early going. But Alexis Diaz has been demoted, and this has been telegraphed since spring, unfortunately. Terry Francona just hasn't seen it all year with the Diaz. Diaz has struggled to stay healthy and to perform. He's been demoted. That guy's been their closer for a few years now. They demoted him. Alexis Diaz, just no point at this point having him on a roster unless you're in an NL-only league. Luke Jaxson allowed 4 runs, got 1 out yesterday. Luke Jaxson, as we talked about many, many, many times, doesn't profile as a closer. Bruce Bochy likes to have one guy. He's been the closer to date. He's had a couple of wonky outings. Chris Martin, Robert Garcia, waiver wire additions this week. If they're on the waiver wire, it's time to start adding these guys. Luke Jaxson hasn't been removed from the 9th, but he also has done nothing here of late to suggest 10 days from now he's going to be working the 9th. Justin Martinez is going to the injured list today with the Diamondbacks. Of course, AJ Puck is already on the injured list. I handcuffed these guys, and both of them are now on the injured list. Hey, welcome to my world. AJ Puck is going to start throwing in a couple of weeks and see how it goes with this forearm issue, so there's still a chance he's back this season. There's still a chance he's done for the year. In the case of Martinez, they're going to basically what we're hearing is his velocity's down a little bit, and he's just kind of not right. So this sounds like with Martinez that we're going to give him a couple of weeks rest, and then we're going to bring him back, and here we go. We'll see. Ryan Thompson got the save last night. Shelby Miller's in the mix. Kevin Ginkel's in the mix. I guess it's Thompson and Ginkel, and in that order. If we had to, put guys today, is that where we're going to be on Sunday? We'll see. But just a mess with the Diamondbacks losing their top 2 guys. And finally, David Bednar's got the last 2 saves for the Pirates. I saw a report this morning. David Bednar's back in the 9th inning. Maybe he is, okay? But Dennis Santana's on the bereavement list. He's not even with the club right now. So timing is really good for Bednar to return and to be very successful. He's got the track record. I've said all along I still thought that Bednar would lead the team in saves. I don't think Bednar is the quote-unquote closer of the Pirates yet. I don't think so. But again, Dennis Santana, who should return from the bereavement list soon, probably gets a little bit of work, but the rest of the way, 20 saves for Bednar, 6 for Santana, I'm guessing, right? Something like that. So if Bednar's on the waiver wire, now is a good time to make a move before the club officially announces a change. They always thought would happen once he got his game back. So there's a review of what's going on in the world of baseball. head over to FG, click the subscribe tab in the top right corner, send a note, support@fantasyguru.com. Support@fantasyguru.com if you got any questions. And remember, later today, the rankings will be updated at fantasyguru.com. All of it. I redo the whole damn freaking thing, 600 plus players ranked. So it's a lot of work. It'll be up later today. Then it'll be updated the first of every month throughout the season. And then the Solds rankings will be updated tomorrow. Okay. It's Thursday, and we talk to a gentleman every Thursday that has been busy. He's been here on the show. He's been doing live streams. He's been writing articles. He's also been building things. As you can see there on the screen, for those of you that are able to on any of the various areas, youtube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork, facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ, or on Twitter X @FantasyGuruSite. He was away helping his bro build a deck. And there's the first photo. And I assume one of those two is him. Actually, one of those two is him, and the other one's his brother. But he's out there at the deck about half built. And then look at this beautiful thing when it's all done. He's a scholar. He's an analyst. And he's also a carpenter. He's Tyler Buecher of FantasyGuru.com. Let's bring him into the show. Tyler, how you doing?
Doing great, Ray. Man of many hats over here. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, that's you there, right? You and your bro?
No, that's my dad on the left and my brother on the right.
Oh, it's not even you. Jeez.
I was the one taking the photo, yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. How many days did it take to get this whole thing done?
7 days.
It's a lot of work, isn't it? So you guys laid pillars and the whole thing? You went for it?
So that was behind the scenes. My brother did that in advance. He and his wife augured out holes. They poured some concrete foundations.
Wow.
And then we went from there. So thank goodness they did that ahead of time, because that had to get it pre-approved by the township before we got there. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. The auger for those people is the giant drill. Did they do a handheld one and they did the wobble, or did they get the whole big ass machine?
Yeah, the handheld one.
Okay. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Tyler Buecher got it done. That's why Tyler was going. Look at it. It was all that hard work paid off. So we wanted to share that. We forgot to last week. But good job, Tyler. How you doing, by the way, overall?
Great. Excited about how this past week has gone. The NFL draft has been one of the biggest pinnacle landmarks of the offseason. A lot of fun stuff has unfolded. Excited to chop it up with you, because we got plenty of content now to talk about.
Absolutely. And you can go to FG right now, sign up, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner, as I just mentioned. Send a note to support@fantasyguru.com. Excuse me. Sign up for the franchise mode and get all the off-season coverage. Just sign up for the seasonal package. You might as well now anyway over at FG. And that includes Tyler and everyone's work in terms of player profiles for all the rookies. Those are available. You get access to the live stream from day one, the 4-hour live stream that was done over on the site as well. You get access to the live stream that happens every Tuesday that Tyler's a part of as well if you sign up now. So check that out. What do you got before we hop into this? What do you got content-wise coming out on the site? I guess they weren't released this morning. Were they everybody's rookie rankings out? Hasn't been done yet?
Yes, that has been released as of yesterday, Wednesday.
Oh, it was yesterday. I missed it. Okay.
Yep. So we did like our top 7 quarterbacks, top 10 running backs, top 15 receivers, and top 7 tight ends for this year's class, which is really helpful in terms of seeing like different people's opinions and evaluations of different players. But I always like to take it a step further. So I like to add the context and the why behind everything. If you are part of our betting Discord, you'll see me like not just post a bet, but throw a paragraph of reasoning behind it all. So I want to do the same thing with these rookie selections. I've got a article coming out tomorrow, which will have a top 48 for those in rookie drafts that are single PPR. Those that are in, I'll have another set of 48 for those that are in Superflex tight end premium. And then I'll have a top 75 for those that are in the Superflex tight end premium with IDP, the leagues that go super deep, those that include defensive tackles, cornerbacks. Not everyone has these cross-contaminated, these crossly merged offense and defensive rankings together, because it's really tough to put out a blanket set of uniforms. IDP leagues are so scoring dependent. So I'm trying to use a balanced set of scoring, going to use tiers as well, so that those that are in perhaps a tackle heavy or a big play heavy, they can go up or down with respect to where it makes sense with their particular league settings, where to take a certain player relative to the offensive players. I think it's just a really helpful tool. Going to also include a little blurb or two on every single player and why I have them ranked where they are, their outlook, their collegiate production, just a little blurb just to give you some context of why they are where they are.
Yeah, so Jeff Mans has released his rankings for rookies. The IDP rankings for the rookies has been released by Phil Backer. That came out yesterday. I blew it. I missed the staff rankings, which Tyler referenced. Those are available right now. So all those are there. Tyler doing the cross-contamination. I like that. Of IDP and offense. I mean, because again, no one does that. There's always the IDP list. There's always the rookie offensive list. They're never combined. So that's a great thing, I think, Tyler. We've talked about that too. So that'll be available over at FG. And Tyler visits with us every Thursday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. And Tyler in season does a lot of work with wide receivers and cornerbacks and coverages and all that. And so the plan is basically, I'll foreshadow. We're talking quarterbacks today. I'll talk running backs with Russell Clay next week. Next week, we'll talk wide receivers with Tyler, and then we'll talk tight ends with Russell next week. So let's start out. We talked about Cam Ward, just to put a bow on it. We all knew he was going to go number 1 to the Titans. He did. You and I have talked about him here on the show. Put a bow on it. Expectations for him in 2025.
Yeah, like you said, we all kind of expected this. No surprise he went number 1 overall, writing a bit on the wall for ages. For rebuilding franchises that typically get the number 1 overall pick, there's typically more than one reason why you have that number 1 pick. It's not usually just solely on the quarterback position. The team likely isn't very good. In my eyes, there are 2 ways to set up your young quarterback. If you take one round 1, pick one for success, and that's either investing in the offensive line or in the weapons. And to help Cam Ward, they've actually done a great job investing in this offensive line. Like, let's just go left to right. Left tackle Dan Moore, they just added him in this offseason via free agency, a 4-year, $82 million contract. It's a top 10 tackle contract. Left guard Peter Skoronski, 2023 round 1 pick. Center Lloyd Cushenberry, 4-year, $50 million contract. That's a top 5 center contract. Right guard Kevin Zeitler, he's 35 years old, been around the block, veteran presence, 1 year, $9 million. Just a great guard to add. And then right tackle J.C. Latham, another 2024 round 1 selection. So they are putting him in position to succeed with a strong offensive line, with a strong offensive line coach. Bryce Callahan. I think there's like a lot of optimism here with what the Titans coaching staff has done. And post-draft pressers have really praised Ward's poise, his knowledge around the scheme, his processing speed, like all the cerebral stuff, which that stands out to me when we combine that with the line and we also factor in the lack of elite weapons. They added some round 4 guys and like Shamari Dike, Gunnar Helm, Ilik Eomanner. They also added Tyler Lockett right before the draft. Turns 33, a bit older, but I think we can largely look at these more as like contributors than needle movers in terms of elevating the quarterback. So the bottom line with this guy, I think he's more of a fantasy quarterback too, with sporadic QB1 appearances throughout a season. Not a priority click for me in a single quarterback rookie draft. I like him really at the 2-3 turn. I'm really not prioritizing him at all, to be honest. That's why I kind of have him later than consensus. And tier 2 click for me in the Superflex draft. So I'd be willing to take him in middle of round 1. Just for some context, if we were to throw him into last year's rookie class with quarterbacks, I'd throw Caleb, Jaden, Drake May, JJ McCarthy, Bo Nix all ahead of him. And then I put in Ward QB6 ahead of Michael Penix.
All right. We got a situation here with the Giants. They took Abdul Carter in the first round, right at the top of the draft. Great pick. I don't think anyone has a problem with that. They signed Russell Wilson. They signed Jameson Winston. We knew they were going to take a quarterback, and we'll see kind of thing, right? Because neither Wilson or Winston's the answer. They traded up to take Jaxson Dart. So they got right back in the first round, got Jaxson Dart, not a landing spot anyone was really expecting. Again, they were very aggressive trading up to get him. Your thoughts on Dart, long term and short term? Is he going to start at all in 2025? And do you like this landing spot?
Yeah, we actually talked about Dart to the Giants on last week's show. And it rang true. Giants sent the 34th, the 99th, and the 2026 round 3 pick in order to move back into round 1 at number 25, grab Houston's first round pick. I think the early expectations are, like you said, he's going to sit behind the veterans, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston. Russ is presumed to be in the driver's seat based on everything we've heard out of the front office and coaching staff. And last year we saw a decent spell of good games from Russ before he turned back into a pumpkin. So I think the best case for Dart is he gets a mid or late season appearance in year 1. And I think that's great for him to have some time to learn Daboll's system. He's coming from Lane Kiffin's RPO heavy offense where it was a lot of simplistic reads or run the ball. And his decision making, his ability to work through multiple progressions, I think that's his biggest red flag entering year 1, something that would take some time to develop. Green flags for him are the arm strength. This guy can attack all levels of the field. Led the nation in yards per attempt at 10.8 and in number of completions that went 10 plus yards or more. So he's like kind of like Drake May as a prospect where he's like a big play hunter. If it's not there, then I'll just run with the ball. And this guy's super athletic. He's much more than a guy that can get you sporadic first downs. I think he's a bona fide weapon on the ground, capable of picking up big chunks. So I think he just really needs to work on the mental part of his game. So letting him sit behind Russ, letting him learn behind two veterans, I think it's a good spot for Dart. And this offense has some pretty good weapons for him to work with. In a single quarterback format, I'm probably aiming for him round 3 and late round 1 in Superflex.
Poor Jameis Winston. Can't catch a break.
I know. I love this dude, but I agree. Hopefully they trade him.
Tyler, they probably will at some point, and we'll talk about a team that needs a quarterback later. Tyler Buecher, fantasyguru.com. Shough, Shough Knight. I don't know. How do you pronounce this dude's name? The quarterback of the Saints. I know I always screw it up. Shough. There we go. Not Shough Knight. Shough. Tyler Shough was drafted by the Saints. Derek Carr. I mean, there's a lot of reporting out of the Saints land that it's just over with Carr, and there's a personality clash. I don't know how much his shoulders hurt or not. We don't know what's going on. As of right now, technically he's on the team. It's unclear if he's ever going to even take another snap with this squad. So Shough, has got a really good chance, I think, to be the starter in week 1 with Rattler and Haener. They're the only guys in his way. Is that how you see it, Tyler? Is the rookie going to be starting in week 1? And if so, what do you think?
Yeah, so the Saints drafted this ready now quarterback in my eyes. He gave Brandon Weeden the run for his money, his oldest quarterback prospect in round 1. He's 25.5 years old. He's been around the block, 7 years, I believe, in college. The Saints, though, like head coach Kellen Moore after the draft said Shough is ready to compete, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. And that's great news with the Carr injury. I think that there's that early round 2 capital they spent on him really signifies they're going to legitimately give him a shot to compete with the guys you said, Rattler and Haener. I don't think there's a non-zero chance Carr ever returns to start for New Orleans. Like, what if Shough hits the ground running? Then they look at Derek Carr's 2026 cap hit next season, $69+ million. I think Carr may have run his mouth out of town. I'm kind of with you there. Right. Then we throw in the athleticism of this guy. He's a 9.7 RAS, relative athletic score, athlete. 10's the highest. So to put an athlete up there close to 10 is insanely great. He can easily clear 60+ yards. He's a very toolsy quarterback in terms of like the speed and the arm strength. He just can't read defenses. He doesn't play with the anticipation.
A little problem.
A little bit of a problem. But he can throw YOLO bombs to Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave deep down the field. It's just really tough for me to get on board with a year 7 quarterback who was at 25 years old, was beating up on 18-year-olds playing defense.
Right.
I'm just really not into this. He's a volatile investment for those in fantasy circles. But I mean, he gets a chance to start in year 1. And I don't think a lot of day 2, day 3 selections necessarily get that chance. So to me, he's more of like a team dependent in terms of how your fantasy squad is set up. He's a team dependent fantasy pick if you're really desperate, but I can't in good conscience recommend investing here.
Tyler Buecher, fantasyguru.com. The Browns thought that Deshaun Watson would be making Pro Bowls for them right now, right? And for years in the past. And it's the worst contract that's ever been given in football history. I'm going to say it. I don't know. Maybe there's one that's worse. It's the worst contract ever. He's done, obviously, with the Browns. So the Browns bring in Flacco and Pickett. They draft Dillon Gabriel. They then draft Shedeur Sanders because he's still sitting there in the 5th round. I've said it multiple times. When you have 4 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. What does this quarterback situation look like in 2025? And who is the quarterback of the future for this team? Is it Gabriel or is it Sanders?
Yeah, the future is really interesting. I think we should circle back to the trade initially in round 1, where they moved back from number 2 to number 5. The Jaguars sent 5, 36, 126, and a future round 1 in the 2026 draft just to move up a few spots. Mm-hmm. That gives the Browns a pair of 2026 round 1 picks for next year. Kind of sets the wheels in motion for them to bypass a quarterback early in this past draft, the 2025 one, and really set their sights on 2026 and some maneuverability up and down the board. Okay. They still took some swings here. Gabriel, a late day 2 pick with late round 3 capital. Shedeur fell all the way to round 5. It's been longly talked about. Mm-hmm. I think they're really expecting all these 4 guys to like really just compete in camp. Gabriel's another older quarterback, 24.3 years old, spent his time on multiple teams, long tenured guy. He's just undersized at 5'11", strong armed lefty, accurate on the short to intermediate throws. Shedeur even more accurate, 74.0% completion rate. That was an FBS best last year at Colorado, despite playing behind a horrendous offensive line. He struggled when the lights were the brightest, though. I mean, he went 1-7 against ranked opponents, and that stat always sticks out to me.
Right.
That, like, why'd this guy's number get retired? I think both these guys are developmental players, neither having elite tools. And I mean, they were both accurately drafted as such. They were round one premium capital selections.
Right.
They're going to enter this camp battle. Bottom line, I'm fading both.
Okay.
I think quarterback needy squads can take them off waivers after they process, but this is more of a wait and see thing. And I really wouldn't be shocked if 2026 we were looking at them, Cleveland being top of the draft board, maybe like a top 5 selection once again, looking at a possible QB, using that second round pick from the Jaguars to move up to number 1 overall if they don't have it naturally. So I don't really want to invest here. It's a short-term Band-Aid, and I don't play Dynasty that way.
Well, people are going to ask the question anyway, so let's answer it. You don't want really either one, but if you had to take Gabriel or Sanders, who would be the guy you would throw the dart on?
I would take Sanders. I think he had some traits that were positive. It's just really the offensive line and his ability to handle pressure, which has been his biggest Achilles heel. I think Gabriel is just really kind of like maxed out at what he's done. Where Sanders, I feel like there's still the chance where maybe he progresses a bit more. Maybe the passing game takes another level because he's still got some great tools. He's just not elite in any particular trait aside from dink and dunking. Yeah, I think Sanders is my answer in terms of who I think gets the most starts this year among this group. But
really?
I'm curious.
Just to reiterate, you think Sanders makes the most starts of the 4?
I do, yeah.
Okay. So at some point he's going to get out there and they'll see, and then they'll be considering taking a quarterback next year. That's basically what you said.
Basically, yes.
Wow. Can 4 quarterbacks get enough work in camp and everything to really know? That's another question too. Like there's always camp bodies and you need guys to run scout teams and all those kind of things. But I mean, you look at the style of play for these guys, it's different styles of play too, different developmental periods. Like it's going to be a lot on the coaching staff, right? To figure out how to make this all work and not implode.
I agree. Yeah. And there are, like you said, there's limited reps available for these guys, limited number 1s, number 2s. I'm curious to see how that all plays out. But at this time, I think it's a long way up for Shedeur. Maybe this whole process has been humbling. Hopefully it makes him a bit more hungry.
Tyler Buecher of FantasyGuru.com joins us every Thursday here on Fantasy Sports Daily. Seattle. Geno Smith with the Raiders. They bring in Sam Darnold. Okay. Darnold had that huge year with Minnesota. The odds of a repeat statistically this year are about 1%. That might be too high. They drafted Jalen Milroe. We heard their head coach, Mike McDonald, say that, oh, yeah, Sam Darnold's going to take 90% of the snaps this year. Does that mean we got packages for Milroe? Like, what's going on with Seattle? How do you see this quarterback situation playing out? And a little bit more specifically on Jalen Milroe, who I know has skills, but.
Yeah, there's some question marks there with Jalen Milroe's ceiling. Darnold, remember, it's a 3-year, $100 million contract. They can get out of it early if pushed, though. I think like 2027 is probably the most realistic thing. Looking at just Milroe as a prospect, he runs like Lamar Jackson, throws like Anthony Richardson after an eye doctor appointment. He's just a tremendous athlete with top-end rushing speed, cannon of an arm.
I gotta quote that. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
He's got a cannon of an arm, can hit all levels of the field, tremendous leadership skills. He got constantly praised for that at Alabama. The work ethic. He just needs time to work on his inaccuracies, his indecisiveness. Like sometimes he'll hold on to a first read for too long. If you're a fantasy player, I think the best case for Milroe is to put him on a taxi squad if you're in leagues that have those and just kind of ignore him 2025. Right. Hopefully 2026 we get something back. Offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak comes from the Saints, so maybe we get some Taysom Hill type packages for him. Maybe that's the 10% you were alluding to. But Milroe, I mean, he's just such a great rusher where it's kind of like where Richardson was, where I don't think we want to lump them in the same bucket necessarily, where not every hyper athletic quarterback that's built like this struggles passing. We see some of them take steps forward. Josh Allen notoriously did it. He's the best example of it. A guy that couldn't hit the broadside of a barn coming out of Wyoming. Like he had like a 45% completion rate, suddenly becomes an all-world quarterback. Not every QB is going to have the group of coaching to elevate their play, Not every quarterback has the traits to be able to develop and become a top end QB. But Milroe is that type of quarterback where if I'm in need of a QB in a fantasy setting, I really, really like just stashing him and just kind of ignoring it and then just seeing what happens a year or two down the road. The floor is so insulated because of his rushing skill set, though. Like, this is a guy that could come in as a spot starter randomly. Like, say Sam Darnold got the flu for a week or whatever. Right. He could come in and put up 15 plus fantasy points as his baseline, and then whatever passing productivity we get on top of that, let's say 5 points. Right. We're looking at a 20-point fantasy outing. Most people will take that on a random week where you're in need of QB help. So there's some upside, but I think time is Milroe's best friend right now.
Tyler, by the way, just to pull back, broad question. Shared backfields are the way the world works for most teams now, and we learn to accept that and understand that. Shared quarterback play, like, did it ever work with the Saints? I mean, I guess you can argue it did with Taysom, but didn't work. Do you like the idea of teams being open to doing something like having packages for that guy and the reserve, or do you just want the team to go old school and just give all 70 snaps to one quarterback?
I think it's really wise to use it on a 4th and inches, 4th and goal. For sure. I think a guy that can squat 600 plus pounds is much better than a guy that can squat 250. Okay. So yeah, I think there's some packages where it makes sense, but we don't need to worry about red shirts here. It's the NFL. So yeah, so I think it's fine. I don't know if like 10% is an accurate estimation for what kind of looks we could see for Milroe, but I don't want to see him take over for a full drive. I think it's just sporadic plays.
Tyler, what about the Steelers were going to take Sanders in the first round. Then they're going to take Sanders next. And then they're going to take Sanders. And then they're going to take – never took Sanders. As we're sitting right now, the Steelers quarterback is Mason Rudolph, and they have lied and said we're fine with Mason Rudolph as their quarterback. They're not. Let's not be stupid about this. There's a lot of pressure on the coaching staff here. Mike Tomlin, people want to fire him, even though they make the playoffs every year. They go out and buttress their strong defense early in the draft. Okay. They don't have a quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, who knows? There's rumors about maybe Kirk Cousins. We were just talking about guys like maybe Joe Flacco or Jameis Winston, maybe. What are the Steelers doing? Because if they start week 1 with Mason Rudolph, like the best, maybe they win 10 games and sneak into the playoffs. They're not winning in the playoffs with Mason Rudolph. They got to do something, don't they?
I don't know. What are they doing is a massive question. I thought we would have seen some illumination of that this past weekend. Nothing. They got Will Howard, who he had like one great season. He's got prototypical size. He's 6'4", 230 plus. But this was a guy who largely lived on the underneath area of the field. Just 11% of his passes went 20 plus air yards. That was 133rd out of 150 qualifying. This guy just lived on the underneath passes and let his guys do yak stuff. Weird combination to go with the guys like George Pickens and DK Metcalf, where you're hoping for more Russell Wilson deep down the field kind of stuff. Yeah. That was a super interesting selection to me because I thought Howard is an interesting developmental guy after the success he had in the playoffs last year. But Steelers, without anyone in round 1, I mean, you got to think the plan is maybe a Kirk Cousins or an Aaron Rodgers, but Cousins' contract, like, it really puts the onus on him in terms of where he wants to go. Maybe he doesn't want to go here. Maybe this team is just sandbagging for 2026 and we don't even know it. Right. But that seems very unlike the Steelers. That's not really their MO. They're typically a team that's 500 or better during all of Tomlin's tenure. So I just don't get it. I truly don't have an answer for you here. I think Pittsburgh fans are also throwing their hands up in the air, frustrated. I spent the entire weekend with a Pittsburgh fan, and she just had nothing positive to say. I said, well, at least you got Caleb Johnson. Right. But no, there's really just frustration from Steelers fans and people in the community.
I mean, and again, not that contracts mean anything in the NFL because the numbers, they don't. But they gave $150 million to DK Metcalf. Like, this is not, they had to bring this guy in, we'll sign him to a 2-year, $10 million deal. They gave $150 million. And they didn't trade George Pickens. Mason Rudolph? Like, I feel like, what do I know? But I feel like this is, obviously, they're hoping that Aaron Rodgers says yes, obviously. But if he doesn't, I mean, like I said, what are we doing? Trading a 7th-round pick for Jameis Winston? Like, what are we doing? Like, I don't know. It's a really weird scenario. And you got to give, in my opinion, you got to give the Steelers the benefit of the doubt. But it's so hard to do it because it just, like you said, it just doesn't make any sense.
Right. These are guys that I think in my mind compete for QB3 spots not backup spots,
Right.
which makes it even more dire. And the fact that they're putting their faith in Aaron Rodgers, who's is kind of just making up his own timeline as he goes.
Rodgers could show up and play half the season and decide to retire anyway. Like, you got to have a backup plan, right? Like, even if he's your guy, you know, he could quit halfway through camp. Like, we have no idea.
Yeah. Do they go the weird veteran route where they try to poach off other rosters? Maybe they wait for final cuts,
right?
When other teams get down to their final 53. But then you've been practicing all spring and off season and fall with. I sense the Steelers' frustration, and I'm right there with them. Like, I don't know how you go into the season and tell your fan base, yeah, we're good with Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, but we're going to win. We're going for the Super Bowl with Mason Rudolph, and it doesn't work very well. Tyler Baker, FantasyGuru.com. For obviously, as Tyler noted at the start of his visit here, for more of his information, you know, stay tuned over at FG. He's going to have tons of stuff coming out. He's already had stuff come out. They've got the rookie rankings available. He'll do the combo list here in a bit. He'll look for some more witty ways to say players are good but not good. That was really good, Jalen Milroe. He's Anthony Richardson after an eye doctor appointment. Was that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is good. Put that on a business card or something if people still have those, Tyler. Tyler Beaker, FantasyGuru.com, joins us every Thursday. Thanks for your time today, Tyler. As a parting shot to everybody, what do you got? Give me something. A random thought, another replay of an article, something you're looking forward to doing. Just share some wisdom. You're on a fire today, it seems like. What do you got?
Okay.
Anywhere you want to go. Personal.
I just finished my Superflex and tight end premium top 48.
Okay.
And I actually put Jalen Milroe ahead of Shough, ahead of the Browns QBs. I put him at QB3. I think he's an interesting stash there, knowing that there's a chance that he may need some time to develop, but that you don't need to spend massive capital to get him. I think he'll be available round 2, round 3 turn in most Superflex tight end premium formats. But he offers a lot of upside. And I think in the fantasy circles and space, we've come to realize the guys with these rushing floors are valuable, and they don't always hit their mark in terms of their passing productivity and what we were expecting in that lens. But that's the dice roll of it. When they do hit, they hit big. When they fail, they're minor misses. We still get 15 fantasy points out of them. We just might only get them for one contract or some spot starts here. Anthony Richardson being no better example than it. So yeah, I think Milroe's an interesting dice roll depending on your squad, but at the 2-3 turn, that means contenders that are usually in there in the mix late round 2, or even people that are struggling with a rebuild early round 3, they all have a shot at Milroe.
Final question for you. We've got a 45-round dynasty draft, full IDP, you know, full NFL roster kind of thing. And for some reason, we didn't do like the first 20 rounds in an actual draft. It's all slow draft. 45 rounds, 12 teams. How long is it going to take? How many days?
45 rounds. I think you'll be. It's May 1st right now. I'll say May 19th is when you're finally wrapping things up.
Okay. I hope you're right. There's no chance in hell you're right. We had we had 5 picks yesterday. 5 picks, not 5 rounds, 5 picks. We've had people time out. We've had one person took 12 hours, 2 other people took 8 hours. Like, this is bad. I put the over under on like 50 days, and I'm worried about that. I wish. I mean, again, do you think that's not my last question? Do you think if you're doing something like this, like you're doing a full dynasty, shouldn't you do, like I said, half the draft live? Like, oh, let's sit down for 2.5 hours, let's bang out 20 rounds, and then we'll go to the slow draft thing. Doesn't that make more sense than just doing the entire thing with a slow draft? Or am I wrong?
I would disagree, because I think a lot of people love to make the trades here, and they're probably working the clock. Some people are working, period, where they're unable to do anything in terms of the fantasy space. I think you choose your leagues, and if you want to be in a league with a slow clock, just be prepared for people to be slow. Otherwise, join just fast leagues. And it really comes down to being knowing your league rules and league settings. We talk about that often. If you despise slow drafts, don't join one, or you'll get frustrated.
Oh, I despise it. Oh, it's the worst. It's the worst. Ray Flowers, Tyler Beaker here on the show. Tyler again with us every Thursday. You can catch him over at FG. He's in Discord answering questions all the time. I see him in the Dynasty room a lot, cautioning people about craziness. So if you got any questions, send them to Tyler, and he'll put you on the right road. Tyler, thanks for your time today. We appreciate it. Have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you again next week.
All right. Thank you very much. I'll leave with one more parting note.
Okay.
Ignore your needs while you're drafting and just grab best player available. You can always set your lineups later. We aren't looking to fill a starting lineup right here in early May. Get best player available. You can move up and down. By the time August rolls around, then we'll worry about starting lineups.
The old Brian Thomas, Travis Hunter comment. I saw that something similar to what you said earlier in Discord with that too. Yep. All right, Tyler, thanks for your time. Have a great weekend.
All right, cheers. Thank you.
You got it. He's Tyler Beaker. I'm Ray Flowers. Tomorrow we'll visit with Russell Clay. He'll join us at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. So half an hour of talk on the running back rookie class with Russell tomorrow. First half of the show, baseball with me. Stay tuned for that tomorrow at 12 o'clock Eastern, as we're here every day, Monday through Friday on Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.